Hey everyone, welcome to the realization that reality is not fixed. Some call it the quantum effect, some call it the Mandela effect. I call it annoying as shit. I know a lot of the people in the community are there. Well, there's some in the pissed off about it. There's some in the it's an awesome thing and we should all embrace it. There's others who are still in the fear patternization on the whole thing and not knowing what's going on with it. And there are some who see it and shrug their shoulders and say, I don't give a shit, whatever. Nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to go on living my life. Why does it piss me off? And it's annoying. Not because of the little things or even the changes that happen around our house, you know, when it comes to stuff missing and then reappearing, or even you know, buildings around us that are open and closed. We had a funny one happen to us yesterday. My wife and I, we were out and about working, side business work, and we were driving up near Santan Village, where we do a lot of work at, and noticed that a particular restaurant with a barbecuing pig for its logo was closed. Like, not just closed, like closed. That was the second one we noticed. Let me back up a second. The first one we noticed was a place called Cantina Laredo. And I'm going to say their name because they had one restaurant in Arizona and it is gone. I mean, they're done. They're kaput. Doors, signs were still up, but the windows were closed down. And then I looked it up because it seemed odd that the restaurant, we just went there a couple of days ago for dinner, and all of a sudden they're closed. So I thought, well, maybe, rates got raised into that area or something like that, caused them to shut down. Didn't think anything about it. Then we turned the corner, went to another area, and noticed that the famous, we'll call it the famous barbecuing pig place, and it's not Wendy's dad. Dave from Wendy's, was closed. Now, there was two other locations in Arizona, and after looking it up, it's been closed for apparently a while, which is odd. I mean, when we drove past it, it was like gutted out, signs stripped off the building, like it's been closed for months. Well, when I looked it up, they closed in December, mid to late December, somewhere around there, of 2019, which is bullshit, because in my side business I had just gone in there to pick up an order for a customer last week, and my wife was with me and she was sitting there and we were looking at it and we were both kind of okay. Now, not even that, to that degree is that annoying to me. Now, Cantina Laredo, that place kind of bothers me for that one, because we loved that place. I mean, it was great Mexican food. Prices were average, but it was always busy. But it was just a great time. We went there all the time. It was awesome. And it's that one really annoys me and pisses me that one closed. Now, the Laredo, not a Mandela effect. It just closed, went out of business, whatever, for whatever reason. Now, when the other restaurant closed, that is a Mandela effect for us, because it closed almost 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I just went there last week. Signs up, signs open, everything going on, no problems. And now it looks like it's been closed for 6 months. Now, according to Google, it's been closed for 3 weeks. Okay. Subtle things. And I didn't care for that restaurant anyways, and I didn't really like their barbecue. But what the big nuisance is with the Mandela effect is more so with my work, with my job, and with my personal life. Like, I'm recording this using the YouTube app as a YouTube studio, because when I record it via my gallery player recorder, whatever, from the Samsung one, it stops recording a full video at 15 minutes now, which is irritating as shit, because then I'd have to splice videos together, and as you guys well know, I don't do all that. I play a video, or I record a video, I post a damn video. No fancy editing, no frills, I don't cut my shit out. There's a lot of times I misspeak, and I may not get 100% of the facts, though I try to. And if I feel like I slipped up, I'll usually re-record a video, look it up real quick and re-record it, so I have at least most of the information to talk intelligibly about. But at work, I'm an engineer during the daytime, so we do a lot of CAD drafting and stuff like that for production releases to the shop. And within the last couple weeks, and it's happened, it goes in waves, but within the last couple weeks, we've had a lot of return error rates occur. Most all piddly small crap, so not major impact to the company or anything like that, but annoying, because our error rate out of my engineering department is typically next to zero. Very, very seldom that anything ever gets through our department and that we don't catch it out of sales as being an error and correct it, or purchasing or whatever, and then through our department, because we have 3 of us in there now. I ran the department, was the sole engineer in that department for over almost 20 years, but no, not quite 20 years, 15 years, but now I've got 2 other guys in there with me, and we have cross-checking systems and everything else. So now the error rate is, like I said, almost next to zero. Before, I was always at maybe 5 to 10%. Pretty minor, considering I had no one to QC my work and anything else. And I was also running the shop and controlling all the personnel in the shop and all the other stuff, and assisting with sales and doing a whole lot of different things. But that's annoying enough, okay? What's even more annoying is that, like today, I had this happen to me. I work in CAD. I do a lot of CAD drafting. I know it very well. And I'm working on a project where I'm having to do a redesign to a product and try to make it work, and I've got to show before and afters and things like that out of CAD, and it has given me nothing but major problems this afternoon doing a file conversion from the CAD into a PDF. And it's not drawing in the layers, it's not doing anything else, and it was just annoying me. I mean, I spent 45 minutes to an hour messing around with all the different settings in CAD trying to get it to work. Now I could get it to do a visual conversion for print, but as soon as it goes into PDF conversion, it was losing lines and blowing lines out and all sorts of different weird shit. So if any of you guys don't understand that, no worries about it. It's what I do for a living on my day-to-day stuff. The point is that I'm getting this, and I'm getting frustration, I'm getting irritated. So I just saved the work that I'm doing, and I get ready to shut down my computer to leave work and head home, and all of a sudden my computer says system update. And that set me off, which is why I'm doing this video. And I'm sorry it took me 9 minutes to get here, but here we are. My computer, my cell phone, my home technology, anything that is within touching distance of me personally for technology that I use goes through regular system updates almost weekly, if not bi-weekly, or I mean, I've had it happen a few times where it's gone through like updates, like a couple, 2-3 updates in a week, but it's happening way more frequently than I want. I would say within the last year, and I mean year calendar date from January now to January last year in 19, that I probably have gone through, between my phone alone, I've had probably 15 or 16 system updates, Samsung system updates. On my personal work computer, probably double that, close to 24. On my home computer, my portable laptop I have, probably 12 to 15. And I don't use my home computer laptop as often, so that I'm sure it would have way more updates. It's just by the time it actually gets around to doing the update, it's already caught up to the next update. And it would seem oddly coincidental. So I'd have to see I'd have to see tomorrow morning when I get back into work what update changes have been made to my computer, to the software in there. Because typically when it goes through this, shit's different. And I'm you guys are probably saying, well, why is that the Mandela? Why would that be a Mandela effect? That's just a software update, and that could be the internet, it could be all this. They're not software updates. It's a system, a Windows update. Okay, the hard programmed Windows update on the computer. And yes, I know Windows is getting ready to drop 7, and they're not going to do updates for it anymore. I'm past all that anyways. But all these updates have all been hard system updates. Like, to here, like when you look at the bid, if you go into your system updates and you look at what bid level it is, it's a new build. Not bid, build. A new build level. So it's a hard programmed update for how the system operates. And yes, some of that is relevant to other softwares that are out there and it has to communicate with. But let me know. Let me know if you guys are going through that too. Maybe I'm thinking that for me it's partly to do with this Mandela effect, and I'm shifting through these realities, and therefore maybe I've jumped into a new one where I'm doing another system update. The one thing I haven't been paying attention to, and now it reminds me to do it, but I'll forget by the time a new update happens, is what build it is. So like if I do it, like let's say I update my computer and all of a sudden it goes, oh, that's build 18. Then all of a sudden, next time I think it does a system update and it's still build 18, well, then I've jumped realities. If it's build 19, I have no way of knowing. Now, if it's gone to build 21, maybe it did or maybe it didn't jump realities because they may have skipped a generation. Because sometimes they'll do a build and they'll find out it has failure, so they'll do a new build, and you may get a two build jump in the system. I've had it happen before plenty of times. Now, not in the past, but hey, in today's day and age, technology is way different than it was. With the advent of quantum computing and portable devices like this having so much computing power and things like that, it's a different world than what we were used to. So, from that standpoint, I don't know that this is necessarily a Mandela effect. For me, it feels Mandela effect-ish because I've been working on computers since the 90s, every day, all day long, and not gone through all of these constant updates that's happened to me here within just this last year. I mean, since probably really the massive amount of these updates has happened to me really in 2019. And now it's happening again in 2020. So we'll see what happens with all that. But outside of that, even, this Mandela effect, as it's being called, which is, in my opinion, a quantum effect, or an awakening realization, if we want to even deem it that. That's kind of new age-ish, so I may have turned some people off. But I don't know if we can quantify what is happening with a title. I don't know if we have the words to describe and explain and name what is happening, what this is. Because we don't know whether we're jumping through realities or reality is changing around us, or that there is no reality and that this is all just a dream, or that we're all just in purgatory, or that we're all just
computer programs. We at the end of the day, we really don't know. It's assumptions and theories, and that was partly why I named my channel to begin with, A Theory of Nothing. And yes, I know I've said it before. I'm not just randomly rinse and repeating myself. But that's a good one right there, right? So if you guys were paying attention, you heard the faux pas. I said myself, repeating myself, and then I corrected it. Well, you know what? Myselves, plural, may not be a bad description for this avatar, for reality. Okay, if we think about it from a standpoint of we're moving through multiple dimensions, we're moving through multiple realities, which is why we're seeing these changes and experiencing these things. Then selves would be a proper description for the physical avatar in which we keep traveling through. However, self is relevant to our consciousness, okay? Who am I? I am not this vessel. I am not Scott Schaefer, name given to this vessel by a father and a mother. I am the summation of my consciousness through all generations of its existence, which is me. And I've tried the New Agey thing, and I've tried to get into that and the metaphysics study of things and meditation and law of attraction and all that stuff. And I've had some things that worked out, but not everything. I've talked to my wife about it before. When her and I really focus our thoughts and our attentions and desires on something, it tends to find a way into our existence. And both of us, we talked about this the other night, both of us are feeling frustrated and irritated and just kind of done. Now, does that mean we're suicidal? No, absolutely not. But, she kind of opened up to me and told me that, she doesn't understand this craziness of what's going on. And it's hurtful and it's frustrating. And, for me it is too. That's kind of what I told her. I mean, we've been trying to do a lot of distracting things, trying to just exist, travel through and exist in this world. Because without having, and I don't know that we could even get the answers, without having an absurd amount of financial backing to be able to go to places like CERN, to be able to go to the government, to be able to go to the top of the top of the top of the top of the wealth stream and be able to mingle with them and to be able to ask the questions. We couldn't get things answered. Hey, is the Illuminati real? Hey, are children really blood sacrificed? Hey, is sexual... Well, we know about the sexual thing because that does happen with the elitist. And there's been talk and discussion about them drinking blood. They don't admit to doing children's blood, but okay. Hey, is NASA really BS? I mean, those questions, I don't know that even having all the money in the world would even get you those answers. They probably won't. There's a big push that's going on with this, and I know I'm jumping subjects around. Just stay with me for a minute. This one's kind of a little different video than I normally do because I had so much stuff that's going on in my mind. I'm just trying to get it all out. I'm driving into work this morning. And I'm listening to 98 KUPD, 97.9, which is 98 KUPD here in Arizona. And the morning radio show host and his crew were talking about alien disclosures. And or was that? Yes, that was yesterday. Sorry, that was yesterday morning. They were talking about alien disclosures, and they were relating it to the plane in California that had to dump its fuel, and it burned like 60 elementary school children because they had to dump it as they were coming in so they didn't crash. And I don't know how they tied that into it, but there was some tie into
There's been more disclosure when some other media outlet or something credible thing was saying that the reason that they're not doing full disclosure of the aliens and that we're starting to see it slowly being leaked out is because the government understands that people could not handle the full disclosure truth at one time. Bam. Hey, by the way, aliens have existed. By the way, they've been around here all together. By the way, there are overlords or whatever. I mean, the show kind of went on and on and on, and they took it down the path of alien overlords and stuff like that. Now, I, as a kid, growing up, being a sci-fi nut job, always was hopeful that there was aliens. Always was hopeful that we would have life outside of this existence, you know. But is there? Yes, I see things. My wife sees orbs, and she sees these things shudder by, and we have all these experiences. But do aliens exist really outside of the atmosphere? Or are they just outside of the dimension in which we live? And then I know there's going to be some certain guys out there. Brian Staley's a good one for it. Is if you don't experience it, it's not real. The problem with that basis is there's lots of things you don't experience until you've experienced it. That doesn't make them not real. That just makes them not real to you in your perception, right? Understanding the enlightenment process, awareness process, for those of us who see the Mandela effect and see the changes and see the variations in our history to current history and places popping up out of the ground overnight in construction and roads changing and earrings where we didn't have them before and all these other kind of things. The eyes, having a circle around your eyes now, whereas that never happened before. Some people having hexagonal or octagonal, whatever shaped pupils now. I don't remember if it's 6 or 8 sides that they have. So I think it's hexagonal. I think they have the 6-sided pupils. But breakdowns in reality, if you watch shows and now being able to see almost like behind the curtain, and not even do it a high definition, but like as if it's all digitized, like none of it even exists. Like there is no backdrops, there is no other people, and it's not, the actors aren't even there. Like 100% of it is digitized and it's completely out of sync. Now, that could be done because there's green screening and they're doing backdropping in and overlaying and stuff like that. I mean, look at the deep fakes that are out right now. Is that a disclosure being done to let us know that this shit is obscene? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you, though, that aliens even really exist. Doesn't mean that they don't. Just means, in my general observation, what people describe as the grays or things like that, I've never experienced them myself. Another thing that came up this morning, and it was probably because I did the shuttle one yesterday. Thank you guys for everyone who commented. I didn't get a chance to do any replies. Some I disagree with, some I agree with. That doesn't mean that I love you guys any less, or any more than the others. But probably because I did that video, all of a sudden my YouTube feed, my general YouTube page feed, was like riddled with Wernher von Braun clips this morning when I left for work. So I watched several of them, and there's one from 1955 that he did, created by Walt Disney, in perfect high definition Technicolor, in which he discusses man building a space station, going to the moon. Now, his idea of a space station is basically a wheel, like a bicycle tire, with the reactor in the middle and then the station on the outside, and it spins so that there's artificial gravity as like a centrifuge, right? It sucks them all to the outer edge. And this would be needed to have the capacity to get to the moon, because they would need that as a way station to be able to refuel and then travel to the moon. Well, he doesn't go into an animation in this video. He actually goes into a movie that was done that they built a rocket, they built a ship, they did this, and this is like not, the man on the moon thing or whatever. This is like a regular, well done Walt Disney movie, and like long before those were really done mainstream like that. And while these people are into space, right, and they're in outer space, you can see objects. Here, get to it. Here, there's objects like floating by them, like this kind of motion. And then they're grabbing it, and they're taking it, and they're pushing it off to someone else, and you can see it float. Now, yes, that can be done with the black magic strings and everything else, but then it makes you wonder about NASA and NASA's fakery, and how much easier it would be in today's day and age with the computerizing technology that we now have. Yes, I'm in the same pool as a lot of you guys where I believe a lot of that shit is fake. Does that mean that we can't go to space? No, that does not mean that we can't go to space. I don't know if we can or not. I just know that the shit that NASA projects with the space shuttle and the astronauts being out there and working on it and all that crap is fucking bullshit. That's what I know. Doesn't mean that we can't go to space, doesn't mean that aliens don't exist and none of that stuff. Just means that my perspective is what they're showing us is all a hoax, is all bullshit. Now, it could be because they're trying to hide the truth from us, or it could be because the truth is that we cannot go anywhere. We cannot escape the planet. Okay? Which is more my understanding and belief. Which is why I feel that the sun and moon are more localized than we're told. Are they as close as the flat earth model shows? No. But they're not nowhere near as far away as everyone keeps telling us. Again, getting past technology and cameras and everything else, the naked eye, I can clearly see craters on the moon, and my vision sucks. I have a hard time. I can't even see this damn road sign here that's maybe 75, 100 feet away from my car. I can't read the words on it. It's blurry. And I've been wearing my glasses all day long. But I guarantee as sure as shit, if the moon was up right now over my head and it was lit up, I could make out damn near 98% of the craters that everyone always talks about and you always see in all the photos. Yet if I take my goddamn camera, which you're looking at my face in probably high definition or close to it, except for this sun glare behind me, that this camera, when I even go around to the other lens, it's supposed to be high flute and everything else, you turn that up towards the moon, and all you see is a light blur. It doesn't make out shit for the moon. You would need to have something with a lens, like a telescope or P900 or P1000, to be able to zoom in on the moon. A lot of people have them and they zoom in on the moon. But even thinking about those cameras for a minute, their capacity limitation is how many miles? So you're going to tell me that going this way in mileage, there's atmospheric interference. Okay, I'll buy that. But when you tilt up this way, you still have atmospheric interference all around here. Just because you're changing the angle to a vertical from a horizontal doesn't mean all of a sudden you're picking up less atmospheric distortion. Especially if you want to talk about the atmosphere and how high it is. Because technically when you go out that way, you'd reach the atmospheric distortion. You're claiming atmospheric distortion from there. Well, what is that, all at eye level? So if you go up on a mountain, you're still going to have the atmospheric distortion there, so you're still at that same limited range. But then if you turn up your camera there, you're still only seeing the same distance. Well, yeah, you're not up high enough. Right. But from here to the top of Mount Everest, there's still a level of air, there's still a level of quote-unquote atmospheric distortion. So how is it that the camera at nighttime or even during the daytime can see almost as clear as a fucking bell when it looks at the moon? Or with the right filter on there can see things of the sun. So to that nth degree there, I think that's BS. Getting back onto the subject with Wernher von Braun, being closely tied to Disney. Walt Disney being tied in with all the NASA, and Wernher von Braun being tied in with all the NASA. That's also what leads down this rabbit trail of that whole program being bullshit. I'm sorry. That's my feeling. Doesn't mean there ain't some other backdoor stuff going on, but perhaps that they've been dealing with is more interdimensional travel than extraterrestrial. Not outside of our planet as we understand our planet, whether that be a flat or a round or a rectangle shape. But that when they travel, they're actually traveling interdimensionally. And perhaps that is. And perhaps part of that technology increasing and finally caused a breakdown in the system, which is why we started to travel. You know, we always talk about, we've had weird experiences as kids, and some people have been experiencing these reality shifts a lot longer than just a few years. That doesn't mean that they weren't personally affected somehow, or that their consciousness wasn't more closely tied into the harmonic resonating frequency of something that was going on near them and they don't even know about. Some sort of a interdimensional rift, as it were, and that they weren't experiencing that because it was close to their proximity. And or there might be something more in their history that they don't even know about with parents, that parents did something. But I don't know. What's funny though is, okay, so I do the Wernher von Braun video, and there's tons of the video things. Well, then now there's this new company, and I'd have to look it up again, but they're a space company. That's their forte. And what is this guy talking about? He is talking about the Wernher von Braun space station. Not the original one that I saw in the Disney video, but the exact same concept, just more modernized. And it is a real thing. They are in the process of constructing components for it. So, random, things like that happen for a reason. And I don't know what of that I was meant to view or not. The funny part about the video is, going back to the Wernher von Braun one for a minute, and going back to what NASA currently says, right? It would take 6 days to travel from the Earth to the Moon. Now it takes less fuel, which is why they can fill a rocket ship, just the actual, or like a space shuttle in space, and then take that and go around the moon and then come back to the space station and refill before coming back to Earth. But he does say that it wouldn't hold enough fuel to do anything other than refuel there, go to the moon, come back, and then go back to Earth. So it would not have the ability to go down to the moon and come back up, which is why NASA will say, well, that's why we built modules. Because the bottom module wasn't going to go nowhere. The top module was just to get escape velocity off the moon. Okay. And the Wernher von Braun thing, as this rocket, the space shuttle thing, is going around the moon, they have this weird fade-out clip, this weird flare thing on the dark side of the moon and all this other stuff. Then all of a sudden they come back out and they're slingshot around the moon and they're coming back to Earth. And they show it on the map when they're doing this, and they're calculating this all out, that there's an elliptical shape, that the moon doesn't go just around the Earth as a standard shape. They're showing this huge ass ellipse that the moon's orbit is on Earth. Almost identical to what they say the Earth is to the sun. Even though the sun physically doesn't look any different, even though we're hundreds of billions of miles further away from it at the winter time, as we go around it or whatever. So, okay, so I'm looking at that, and they're slingshotting around, they're getting ready to go back to the Earth, and they're doing this whole thing, and it's all made up. And then they talk about in the video, which is something that struck me odd, is that the spaceship is beginning to accelerate due to the pull of the Earth's gravity. Okay, another clue of bullshit. If a small little teeny tiny ship, which has zero, hardly any mass compared to the moon, is getting sucked to Earth by Earth's gravity, then Earth's gravity is not as weak. And if that's the case, then the Wernher von Braun space shuttle, how could it possibly stay in orbit without coming back down? Well, they don't explain that in the video, but I guarantee you some physicists out there or some engineers out there would say, well, it's because of centrifugal force. The same as why the space station's a wheel shape. That because once they're going around the Earth, that they're never going in an exact orbit. They're always going in a centrifugal type of elliptical orbit, because you're going into the Earth and then you slingshot around it and then you speed up and then you slow down and then you get drawn back in and you speed up and then you slow down. And that's how they justify it, right? But yet, if you look at every single video of the NASA space station, their orbit is extremely consistent. It's not like they're changing the dynamic range of their cameras to adjust focus. It looks like they're literally in the same position, no matter at which point they are around the Earth. So, unless they're going to say, "Oh no, it's just a teeny tiny little elliptical shape that they need to be in." Well, still great. How is the Earth's gravity not drawing in the mass of the moon to crash into the Earth then? If it could draw a rocket or spaceship back to Earth. Now NASA could say, oh well, no, von Braun got it wrong. That's why they had to use rocket boosters and all that. No, but they still had to time it based on rotation of the moon versus rotation of the Earth versus the positioning to the sun and all those things. Sorry, this video is running a little bit long. I'm at 35 minutes, so I'm going to have to cut it out here. But, a lot of things click and tick in place. Yet, life is not getting easier. It seems like for the masses, the NPCs that we call them, that it's just, life is just continuing on. It doesn't get any better, doesn't get any harder. It's just life is moving at the same pace. For some people, life gets a lot harder. And for others, it gets a lot easier. It seems for me, at least in my own version of this reality, is that it's getting more difficult. I wish I was getting jumped into a reality where it was getting a lot easier. SMQ started doing the gateway process and is saying that he's been getting some results from doing it and noticing some things. So I may look into that. The Monroe Institute, I guess he downloaded the documentation from the Monroe Institute, and he's trying to follow the process to see if he can get himself to actually phase out of reality or phase into an alternate reality. So I'll be curious to know how that works out. I'd love to do it myself, but I almost could never find that private time to even meditate, let alone doing probably what that is, which is a form of meditation and working with harmonics and vibration. And I know, megahertz signals of songs and different things like that can rebalance you. And I'm happy for all the people that are finding that balance. Right now, I have just got managed and mismanaged chaos is my life. There's moments of greatness, and there's even more moments of suck. And I almost wish the suck would go away and I would find nothing but greatness. So on that, I'm going to end the video. I hope you all and wish you all greatness and happiness and joy, and wishful that you find yourself in a reality that is prosperous and mentally easing to you, that is kindred to your spirit and refreshing to your soul and enlightening to your consciousness. And I want to take the ride with you. So until the next video, I have been your host, Scott Schaefer. You've been watching A Theory of Nothing. We'll talk to you soon.